Let's just start with the executives are right to be concerned, because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of unknown. How long is the Fed going to continue to tighten? How long are they going to raise interest rates some more? I mean, the questions don't seem to end in their minds, and that creates a certain sense of paralysis as to what I should do. So I don't blame them at all. So that's our job, right? We help people sort all that out. There are three major concerns should be: when will the recession begin? Not if there will be a recession. When will it begin? And then it should be, when will it end? And then what will it look like after the recession? Those are the three basic questions. Because with that framework, now you can make plans. Now you can adjust your sales to meet the prevailing winds. And so when it begins is late this year. And as the recession is going to begin late this year, executives should say, all right, that means when will it end? Late 2024, if all prevailing things continue on. So that means CEOs that are positively correlated to the economy, which is a big if, because if you're acyclical, countercyclical, or lead or lag by a whole lot, it makes a difference. But if you're correlated to the economy in a reasonable way, you have to say to yourself, that probably means my sales are going to go down. Am I ready for that? What does that do to my inventory? What does that do to my lines of credit and my agreements with the banks? What does that do to my cash flow? What does that do to my planning for the future if all of a sudden my cash is not what I think it's going to be? Those are big decisions for a CEO and CFO and the leadership team to undertake. Probably not a people question. In prior recessions, you would say, all right, we better shed some people, or at least let attrition do its work. But with the labor market so tight, that's not something most CEOs should be considering. They should be considering, all right, is this a time to maybe some C players can be moved off the bus if I see some B players that are available, but it's not a time to consider any serious layoffs unless you've overbuilt on the way up. Now, to me, the second thing, because you know there's a recession being followed by a recovery in 2025, and that's important, there is a recovery in 2025, is to say, what's it going to look like in 25? How steep is that? What's it going to look like in 26, 27, 28, 29? Our outlook is 25's up, not extraordinary, but it's up. And 26 and 27 through the rest of this decade are positive growth years to varying degrees. So my conversation with you as a CEO is going to be, all right, are you ready to be busier in the future? Do you have the equipment in place, the CRM? Do you have the people in place? Do you have the capacity to build more, sell more, throughput more, to deliver more? Do you have that now? Because where you are now is not going to be enough by the end of 2025. You need to spend money to get ready. So while everybody else is afraid, while everybody else is kind of pulling in and cowering a little and going, what's going on? You're actually the one out there building up your company. You're going counter-cyclical on this because you have to get ready for the next business cycle. And as you do so, you come screaming off that trough. You come out there powerful and moving and grooving, and your competitors are going to be trying to catch up to you, and you're going to have 6 to 12 months of lead on them. Can you imagine the advantages of being that far ahead of your competitors with capability and product and availability? While they're saying, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait 6 months for product X, you're going to go, I'll have it to you in 2. The second thing I would encourage them to do is be ready for more inflation. Because with that recovery comes inflation. So we're going to have disinflation now, disinflation in through 2024, and it's going to feel like it's gone. And they're going to say to themselves, glad that's over. Big mistake, because it's not over, it's just resting. It's not over because of labor. It's not over because the world economy is going to pick up in 25 through 29. And as it does so, then the demand for goods bids up the cost for goods, and the tightness of labor that is still there continues to build up the price of labor, which builds up the price of products and services. And so inflation is going to be there. So every CEO needs to say to themselves, how am I going to get ready for systemic inflation, not just COVID-caused inflation? How do I, as a business leader, prepare for that? And I have to say, all right, how do I reduce my labor content or whatever I'm doing, whether it's distribution, manufacturing, construction, how do I reduce my labor content? From a service industry, how do I reduce my labor content? There isn't any CEO who shouldn't be saying, how do I reduce my labor content? Because that cost is going to become a burden. And then we have to ask ourselves, how do I sell product in a period of inflation? Which products sell better in a period of inflation? Which products are consumers going to want? As things get more expensive, will they shift from my best to my better? Will they shift from my better to my good? A CEO must be ready with a pricing strategy. And that pricing strategy is the service price point, profitability price point, consumer acceptability price point, and it has to do with incredible efficiency inside your organization. And as you do all that, you remain profitable, successful. If you fail with any of those steps, you're going to find your EBITDA is hurt. It could even be crushed. You could find yourself in a real cash problem, because remember how I talked about cash is so important on the way down? Cash is even more important on the way up. And if you're not generating cash, you're not going to climb the hill. So the smart CEO now is saying, how am I going to generate sufficient cash to grow my company? On the other side, given what Alan was just talking about with inflation and labor problems and the pressures of product, consumer pressures, how am I going to do all that? And the answer is plan now, act now, put everything in place so that you're ready, depending on your environment, your competition, and who you are. To do that, a CEO has got to have tremendous backbone, and he or she has got to have a great staff around them with a lot of buy-in, or else there's passive resistance, and also a very aware board. If the board's not on board, then the CEO is going to get stopped by the board. We just can't do that. So it's a CEO who also needs to share information to everybody that will listen. And obviously, we think we're that great source of information because we can prove all this. We can show why. We have leading indicators, we have history, we have everything that we need to show a CEO and how his or her company is going to fit, what the timing is going to be, and talk about specifics for that company, for that industry, for where that industry is going in the years to come.